For those of you who wish to purchase the first two complete books of my biography, please check out the description where you will find the links to my books published on Amazon, and you can write any questions or comments below this video.
I started becoming a sort of adventurer, yearning for something beyond the ordinary life I had known. The catalyst for this awakening came in the form of a sleek, brand-new Harley Davidson 550cc. I bought it with a mix of exhilaration and trepidation, feeling the weight of the machine beneath me as I began learning to ride it by myself. My driver's license at that time allowed me to operate both a car and a motorcycle, a duality that felt liberating. My father, however, was terrified of motorcycles. His cautions echoed in my mind as I set off into the world, fueled by a spirit of discovery that reverberated with the roar of my new bike. On weekends, I would escape the confines of the city, driving out to explore the towns that dotted the outskirts, often initially venturing no further than a couple of hours away. One day, I stumbled upon whispers of a nudist camp called Ponderosa Sun Club, located in the state of Indiana, about 130 kilometers from Chicago. Intrigued by the notion of being among people unencumbered by clothing, I decided to embark on this new adventure. Curiosity nudged me from behind, tempting me to step out of my comfort zone and into the unknown. As the afternoon wore on, I ventured into a local restaurant where waiters and waitresses served lunch in all their natural glory. It felt surreal yet surprisingly comfortable. However, as the hours passed, I found myself increasingly aware of my clothing. The fabric felt restrictive, an odd weight I hadn't noticed before. The sensation of freedom surrounding me began to seep into my skin, and an overwhelming sense of liberation washed over me. In that shared openness, people looked each other in the eyes, valuing connection over appearance, their conversations rich with respect and authenticity. Freedom, I realized, was not simply the absence of clothing, but the presence of acceptance, of oneself and of others. I immersed myself into this new realm, feeling a part of something larger than myself, a unique community that thrived on shared experiences and unguarded truths. It was an adventure that not only changed my perspective but also whispered to me about possibilities yet to come. My father too felt a void in his life. After my mother passed away, it was as if the entire world had shifted beneath his feet, leaving him unmoored and searching for something to fill the emptiness. Then came the beginning of a relationship with one of his co-workers, a woman whose laughter seemed to pierce through his gloom, illuminating parts of him that had lain dormant. You are in the army now! As a child, I'd always been enchanted by uniforms. In socialist Czechoslovakia, the streets of my youth were filled with the presence of uniformed soldiers and police officers, their sharply pressed coats and polished boots marching past me like symbols of authority and order. My father too wore a uniform, a nice blue one, while he worked at the railroad station. I remember the way he would straighten his cap before stepping out the door, a ritual that felt both proud and poignant. It was a direct reflection of duty, an emblem of the life he dedicated to his job and, by extension, to our family. That summer, as the air grew thick with the scent of blooming lilacs and the distant sound of laughter from children playing in the park, I decided to visit a local recruitment office. It was a few days before my birthday when I would turn 19. I stood outside, my heart racing with anticipation and fear. The interior was stark, filled with the scent of polished wood and determination. Young men and women sat in rows, filling out forms that would change the trajectories of their lives forever. As I stepped inside, the recruiter, a veteran whose uniform hung on him like a second skin, greeted me with a knowing smile. "You're here because you're looking for something more," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. I nodded, suddenly aware of the weight of my decision. This wasn't merely about joining the military, it was about stepping into a role that felt profoundly connected to my past, my heritage, and my yearning for something greater to fill the void. When I finally approached him, my words stumbled out in a mix of determination and vulnerability. "Dad, I've decided to join the military." For a moment, silence hung heavily in the air, punctuated only by the ticking of the clock on the wall. My father's eyes, typically so stoic, began to soften as he processed my words. There was a flicker of understanding there, as if he recognized this choice as a bridge across the void we both faced. It was a hot day in July, and as I stood at the airport terminal, a mixture of excitement and trepidation filled my chest. I foresaw my father's new relationship with his coworker would grow, blossoming in the warmth of shared laughter and unspoken understanding. It was something I hadn't anticipated during my childhood, when the world was dominated by the steady rhythm of his duties at the railroad station. But in the wake of my mother's passing, a gap had opened. A chasm that my father had begun to fill with the companionship of someone who understood his grief in ways I could not. I believed that my departure for the U.S. Army would give him the space to nourish this budding relationship. After so much time spent weighted by solitude and unfulfilled desires, perhaps he would find solace in love once again. This thought settled in my mind like a comforting balm, easing the pangs of separation as I prepared to leave the life I had known. With that peace nestled deep within me, I boarded a plane to take me to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where I would spend 8 weeks in basic training. The aircraft lifted off into the cloudy sky, and I gazed out the window at the land receding beneath us, fields, towns, my hometown slowly fading into a patchwork of memories. At that moment I could feel the shift beginning, the seamless transition from one chapter of my life to another. Upon the arrival at the military base, we were politely escorted to a 2-story administration building where we would stay for 2 days for processing and where we would be issued uniforms. The air-conditioned interior was a stark contrast to the oppressive heat of July outside, and I could feel my apprehension ease slightly as we stepped into the well-lit lobby, the cool air wrapping around us like a refreshing embrace. We made our way through the building, marveling at the spacious layout. The dormitories featured big windows that let in natural light, casting a warm glow on the large beds, each made with crisp white linens. Soft murmurs of camaraderie filled the air as fellow recruits exchanged stories, laughter mingling with the faint sound of a television playing in the background. After about 10 minutes, we arrived at our destination where shocking surprises awaited us. The bus rumbled to a stop, and the doors swung open to reveal chaos. 2 drill sergeants stood outside, their voices sharp and cutting through the morning air like a knife. "Everyone get off the bus! Come on, move it!" Instinctively, we scrambled to comply, adrenaline coursing through our veins. The ground felt unsteady beneath my feet as I stepped down onto the pavement, the realization of what lay ahead sinking in. After the inspection, we were ordered to go to our pre-assigned tasks. In my case, it was the kitchen detail. I imagined serving hearty meals and perhaps even enjoying a moment of camaraderie with fellow recruits over a shared lunch. Instead, my kitchen duty was far from what I could have imagined. As I reported to the bustling kitchen, the clatter of pots and pans met my ears, mixing with the aroma of stale grease and sweat that clung to the air. My task was simple yet daunting. Load a truck with heavy containers of meals, and then unload them at various locations around the military base. Immediately, I felt the strain in my muscles as I heaved the first container into the back of the truck. During basic training, we also engaged in special military exercises that tested our limits in ways I had never anticipated. Every day was filled with a grueling regimen of running, climbing, swimming, jogging, shooting rifles and pistols, and even practicing martial arts. Each activity pushed me deeper into the network of camaraderie that tied us together in shared sweat and fatigue. I learned to respect my body and its potential, transforming from a hesitant recruit into a more confident soldier. During the second week, the sergeant gathered us under the harsh light of the afternoon sun and informed us that the following Sunday would bring a welcome reprieve, a free personal time. We were allowed to roam wherever we wished on the base, including a spot known as the beer garden, where we could drink beer and even dance with the female recruits. The news shot through our ranks like wildfire, igniting a sense of excitement and anticipation. Wow, that sounded awesome. Faces lit up. We even imagined the taste of cold beer and the lively rhythms of music. However, there was a caveat. We had to return to the barrack before 5 p.m. That golden hour loomed over us like the last slice of cake at a birthday party, tantalizing and fleeting. Sunday arrived, and we wasted no time indulging in our newfound freedom. At the end of 8 weeks, we were evaluated and assigned specialized training according to our abilities, interests, and talents. As I stood in line for the evaluations, my heart raced with uncertainty. When my specialty was announced, management of weapons, I felt a surge of pride and purpose. Weapons had always fascinated me, and now I would delve into their complexities under the watchful eyes of seasoned instructors. The specialized training lasted an additional 8 weeks, filled with intensive exercises and theoretical lessons, teaching us the intricacies of firearm maintenance, safety protocols, and tactical strategies. At the end of 2 years, when my military contract expired, I understood the weight of my experience. I was free to return home, but I carried with me an indelible mark of growth and transformation, a soldier forged in the crucible of discipline and resilience. The journey had shaped me in ways I was only beginning to comprehend, and as I stepped forward into the next chapter of my life, I embraced the blend of pride and melancholy that came with leaving behind a life that had once felt so foreign and yet had become a part of me.
For those of you who wish to purchase the first 2 complete books of my biography, please check out the description where you will find the links to my books published on Amazon, and you can write any questions or comments below this video.